Welcome back to some professional StarCraft 2 from WCS Summer 2019. Two fan favorite players from both sides of the big pond. We have in the bottom right, D-Mawa, the Wall, one of the best shield Protoss out there, injuring himself before WCS. I forget, did he dislocate a shoulder? Or like, see, he injured himself in a not insignificant way, I remember, and he was tweeting sad things before the match, but he made it to the playoffs anyways. It's Showtime. Dislocated shoulder. Yeah, that's a smart move. Or maybe a pro gamer move, I don't know. Like a week before WCS. And in the top left, one of everyone's favorite players, the Queen of Blades. From Canada, it's Scarlett. Always one of the most exciting Zerg and players in general, but with issues of consistency, I would say, is definitely a trend. Sometimes showing some of the best, if not the best Zerg play in the world, sometimes not as much, but hopefully that scary, overwhelming Swarm Scarlett shows up today. I wasn't able to catch most of WCS live, but I want to learn how to play. And honestly, for me, the most intense way and best way to actually learn about these players is to cast or watch their perspective or really get a hands-on view, as opposed to just watching. I'm sure the casters did an amazing job, but hopefully I can do something as well. All right, Protoss versus Zerg. Showtime starts with a wall at the big ramp. He's just reaching right out there. It is Thunderbird, which has a quite a long rush distance, especially if you don't mind any of the mineral walls in the center. It is a bit more risky because obviously it takes more buildings to wall off. But the mineral walls create an interesting dynamic, and by that I mean you can't just run units through or take down a set of rocks or anything like that. Thunderbird is one of the most defensible maps, especially for Protoss. Once you get Warp Gate, a few units out there, essentially Zerg is not going to be breaking through with a Roach or a Roachling-based attack without a huge commitment. Scarlett opting for the Creep Tumor first, which does give you access. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm looking forward to this. They had eye tracker technology. Finally, WCS catching up to what I've had on my stream for multiple years, which is of course 1080p and eye tracker technology, so good for them for getting on board with that. But they uploaded the first person VODs if you want to watch all these players with the eye tracker setups, which is always really cool to see, in my opinion. Some people don't like it and have very strong opinions about it, but I really like it on the StarCraft channel. And that's partially why I'm not doing a first-person view, because nothing's going to be more informative than that. Stargate for Showtime. Showtime, he's called the Wall for a reason. He's a shield Protoss. He's one of those players that's always trying to get 3 bases, 60, 65, 70 drones, rarely going for an all-out timing attack, but instead more comfortable once they have all the pieces of the puzzle together. You have your whole composition. You got your Immortals, you got your Archons, you got your Storm. The Stargate manages the possibilities for the Zerg player. Having a Stargate at all means essentially, if you're going to go all in, you are all in as a Zerg, because Stargate units will eventually kill everything on the ground if it's scouted. It forces out spore crawlers, gives you consistent scouting information in the form of an Oracle with Revelation, or just flying units in general with flying. So here, scouting out the lair. Showtime, playing it very safe. The Phoenix first is the safest option. It's not a gamble. You're not going to lose a Phoenix unless you just fall asleep at your keyboard, which some players might argue Protoss does half the time, but I'd argue it's only a quarter of the time. Now this is a little cheeky here. 3 Oracles held in the base. This is to catch Scarlett off guard. I love this. Showtime clearing the map with Adepts and scouting forward with the Phoenix, making sure these Oracles will show up unannounced. And these are not the type of units you want to show up unannounced. 3 Oracles can rip through a drone line, even if there's a Spore. They're not going to kill a Spore. They're not going to kill a Spore, but they're going to kill a whole bunch of drones beforehand. Scarlett does have... She's not cutting any corners, but the Oracles are spotted. They're going to go, probably a pickup on the Queen. There you go, and now the drones are vulnerable. They'll actually just run away. They know that a Spore is not safety enough. Going to try to dodge out. One Oracle just going to die. He's sacrificing their suicide Oracles. Coming in 12 drones. Didn't combine this with an Adept Shade. Maybe he'll use that in a moment. I don't know if these are spotted. They should be. Wait. Yeah. He sees them. A lot of Zerglings coming across the map, but what are they going to do? There's nothing for the Zerglings to do. Welcome to Thunderbird. You're going to have to leave. Like you're just not going to be able to attack. And the Adepts, they see the Zerglings and get inside the base as well. Now, Scarlett, you might be like, wow, losing so many drones. Putting her at the low number of 64. These Adepts actually getting in. Showtime finding every opportunity. Oh my god! He should dislocate his shoulder more often, obviously, because this is on-point precision. The Adept Micro, in between the minerals walling off, a follow-up. This is... Now, despite all of it, despite all this perfect execution, Scarlett's still okay. 9 Swarm Hosts coming out. Plenty of creep spread. 4th base. Mind... Well, actually, these minerals are still intact, so this base actually... Wait. I think there's a gap there. A random attack of, like, a seemingly random... Oh my god! Pinpoint force fields. Isolating a Queen and just enough links. The Warp Prism here to reinforce. Suddenly, what looked like a less than... Essentially nothing. That's nothing. There's, what, 5 sentries and 2 immortals? But that's plenty. But a warp and a charge lot's gonna make things a lot dicier here. Suddenly Showtime, and that tiny little gap, easily force fieldable. Yeah, the Locusts are gonna be used. Nidus Network on the way, but you do not want to be using Swarm Hosts defensively. You don't want to show them defensively. The value of Swarm Hosts is in the pressure they can put on the other side of the map. Just forcing a Protoss player to respond to you as opposed to the other way around. But Showtime has kept up pressure throughout this entire match. Between the Oracles, just 2 Adepts, a follow-up push with minimal units into a huge swell of Warpins. This is a masterclass of Protoss here. He's using every tool, and he's using them so well, Scarlett is forced to respond to the actions of our Protoss player. Warp Prism at the back. The Knight is trying to take some pressure off, but he's already on it! Charge lots assassinating Queens in the main. The Warpins continue. Drones under attack. Showtime boxing out Nidus Worms, taking a 4th base and killing Scarlett's own. Another Nidus is on the way. This one should finish. But Showtime not letting up on the pressure. Scarlett down to 61 drones. She's down in supply. Swarm Hosts are not a unit you want to be down in supply with. They're so costly. Spawning pool falls. Warp Prism still very alive here. Oh my god, the Nidus, the Swarm Host can't go home! They have to walk home, the Storm's boxing out! Oh. Showtime playing an incredible game thus far. Scarlett not out quite yet, but this is, the timing and execution for Showtime is perfect. I don't know what he could be doing better right now. Scarlett, to her credit, still going, holding on, grasping at whatever straws are left. But 61 drones. These Swarm Hosts are just not getting anything done. You can see the idea. This is a great map for Swarm Hosts with the way it's laid out. For the same reasons, it's not great for anything else. But the charge lot backstabs right into the heart of the Swarm. Picking up some of them, bringing them to the main. Another wave of Locusts coming through. The Archons pulled back. One might fall. I take it back. The Locusts getting nothing but charge lots, and that's an easy decision there. Sacrifice those. Get back out on the map. Plenty of cooldown time. Scarlett forced to retreat. So much of the force fields between the Nidus! Caught between a rock, a Nidus, and a hard place. Oh, corrosive biles on charge lots. That's a desperation move right there. Showtime on the chase. The Protoss army isolating and killing so much of the Zerg. Charge lots in the main. Finally cleaned up, but 18 drones. Charge lots in the third. A struggle as well. The fourth base is intact, but for how long and at what cost? That warp prism. The constant massive thorn in both sides of Scarlett's bases. The spore crawler might be targeted as well. More units have to come back. Behind this, more immortals. Has Showtime lost an immortal? No. He hasn't lost an immortal or an Archon or a Templar. Every key unit has stayed alive. He's only lost charge lots. He's lost a couple oracles, but he still has one, which is all you need for those constant revelations. Every key unit for Showtime has survived this entire match. He's lost 450 gas. Scarlett hasn't lost much more, but... a big defensive wave of locusts, and I say that. I enunciate that. I had an extra bit of punctuation. Why? Because every wave of locusts that's defensive is a losing wave. You really need those locusts to be attacking the other side of the map. You don't want to be in a holding pattern. There is no follow-up here. There's no hive. There's no broodlords. Some lurkers are on the way, but lurkers are just more the same. Lurkers are not going to end the game against a player who doesn't lose their immortals. He's got 5 immortals. He's got 8 Archons. He's got 7 Templar. And he's got a deadly push. The force field's still on point. He's maintained the sentries this entire game. 1 immortal. Wow, this immortal. 1 immortal against the world. Alright, so this one, a little ambitious. That is the first immortal lost by Showtime. 1 man left behind. He's freeing up supply. Okay, he's not actually freeing up supply, but still. Now, this is a good wave of locusts. This is something for Scarlett. She's got a hive on the way. Showtime has not been able to lay down the killing blow. In fact, I think he might be being a little bit too defensive. He really needs to press the issue. The swarm hosts finally find damage, and this can start to spiral. You gotta be very careful. Like, 1 base goes down and suddenly your economy's gutted. If your attack gets thrown back, it's getting a little dicey. So while Showtime still has control of the map and of the game, Scarlett finding angles. Another base gonna fall. Wait, the lurkers? Is there a tag? Where is the Oracle? Where are you, Oracle? Why won't you show me? Oh, it's with the army, yeah. But the swarm hosts finding decisive locations, going straight for the Nidus network. Wait! Oh, okay. I thought both, like... So, essentially, if the Nidus worm, if the entrance and exit, the shield battery! Not enough! If the entrance and exit are deleted, they're lost in purgatory. Those swarm hosts don't even come back. Even if you rebuild the Nidus, they're gone forever. Just, like 80 supply gone instantaneously. Now, Immortals and Templar can have that same effect. It takes a little bit longer, though. Alright, the lurkers are boxing out for now. Scarlett. Is that 1 Warp Prism finally going to die? Not yet. It's working on it. Showtime. Scarlett holding on. She spent this entire game on defense. Oh, where's the detection? There's the Oracle. The Immortal count is bleeding out. Oh, the DTs. They're not targeted on the spores. Do they even need to be? The Prism is still alive. A DT in the main. The Greater Spire could be targeted. The Hydras take out the DTs in the natural. But the main base being gutted. The army still threatening outside the 4th. The Greater Spire. There's a single Dark Templar. An Overseer coming back. The Greater Spire. There's not any Corruptors, right? Yeah, the DT will go down. But that opens up the map for the main army. Locusts pop out. We've got Hive Tech on the way. That's the Lurker Burrow speed upgrade and movement upgrade on Creep. It's a significant digging claws, essentially. But Scarlett refuses to die. Showtime has had what could have been a game-ending army for many minutes now, but he hasn't been able to end the game. The fact Scarlett is still alive is quite a compliment. She's been one, not even bad fight, one mediocre fight away from losing too much. This base, no cancel, but not the end of the world. Another good Nidus, cleaned up eventually. Some random creep in the center of the map. Hydras, how many lurkers are with this? There's still plenty of lurkers, but Tempest being added on. Showtime very good at being ahead on tech. He knows the Greater Spire's on the way. He already had the Fleet Beacon, plenty of Tempest coming up. In fact, this is actually a little bit of a danger, because Tempests aren't that great at DPS against anything but Broodlords, so they can counter siege here, work on things like lurkers, but pound for pound, they're not as great as having more Immortals and Archons against a ground army. Some more Locusts coming in. The tag on top of everything. Oh, force fields, he's still got sentries. The sentry usage this game has been incredible. Oh. Scarlett backed up into her own base. She can't give up the fourth. The main, the natural, despite all the lost drones are mining out, but the Tempest, the Storms, Tempest and Templar, devastating damage on both sides. But Showtime, warping in reinforcements, and so is Scarlett. The Nidus Worm is here. Where is the detection? Another revelation comes out. The Locusts are gonna box out for now, but Scarlett looking very light on the unit count. There's a single lurker that survives. It's not enough. Showtime takes game number 1. Incredible match. Scarlett refused to die. I want to see. Showtime had to work for it. That early game, the first like 6 minutes, that was perfect execution. Scarlett got caught in the situation that oftentimes, well, it's a little bit of deja vu. Like, Scarlett, you can't just make 70 drones. We've been over this. But Showtime making sure she doesn't get away with it. But still holding on. The threat and actions of Swarm hosts keeping things alive, but overall, Showtime not giving up the advantage. Maybe giving up the initiative a little bit, but not giving up the advantage. Not losing a fight, just not closing things out. That's a credit. A lot of players, especially against Zerg, Terran, Protoss, and Zerg players are uncomfortable going into that later game scenario. We're in game number 2, obviously. But Showtime, he already had the Fleet Beacon on the way. He's right, like, just in case. You don't want to... You don't need to force the issue. There's no reason to take a potentially game-losing fight. If you have an 80% chance of winning right now and an 85% shot at winning in 5 minutes, then you can wait 5 minutes. And I don't know if the chances were that high, but it definitely, if you're confident and comfortable in the later game, then it's better to just work your way there. Maintain control of the situation. Figure out what they're going to do, what options they have. Continually backstab with things like those warp prisms. Well, honestly, I think he only made 1, maybe 2 warp prisms the whole game. He did a great job of keeping that prism going. Overall, the spellcasting, it seems easy. It is not. Any Diamond Protoss who actually plays will tell you, using sentries past the point you have anything but sentries is a feat in and of itself. Especially using them that well and consistently. We're kind of trained not to expect great force fields in the later game. Just because at that point, there's so many things you're juggling. You got your warp-ins, things like Oracles, Templar, maybe Disruptors. There's so many other things going on. You rarely see that many force fields left over on top of things like Guardian Shield, which are super important. It's like no cheese for game number 2. It is a best of 5 in these WCS playoffs. A little bit of anti-mineral micro there. Not that... Don't try this at home. I have a short video explaining why players do that, but it's mostly just something to do while you're probe scouting. Maybe deny a dozen minerals or so, and annoy. So here's another trend from Showtime. Besides the active defense, I really want to point out, maybe we'll do an Eyes of a Pro Gamer, a first-person perspective. Maybe I'll ask StarCraft Esports if I can take a deeper look at the VODs with the eye tracker from these players, because I'd love to see, because that last game, especially in the early game, it wasn't just the execution. It was not so much what Showtime was doing, it was what he was doing to set up what he was doing. Clearing out any vision with a Phoenix and with Adepts. He scoured the map before he sent out those Oracles, and that's what got the damage done. Scarlett cut corners a little bit because she simply didn't see. She was looking for it, but there are 2 Adepts. You can't, like, scouting Zerglings are not going to beat 2 Adepts, so... the amount of diligence he put into making sure his attacks did damage was key. Because a lot of the times players, like, you go in, you make 3 Oracles, you're like, well, why didn't my 3 Oracles do damage? Well, because you didn't prevent them from scouting it, or maybe because you're in Diamond and players will just build 4 Spore Crawlers if they see a Stargate anyways. So, some of these strategies might not apply. No offense. First Oracle going straight out. He's not banking any after this. It's actually an Oracle first. They showed Showtime's eye tracker yesterday. He checked the minimap 16 times in 10 seconds. So he's obviously downloaded the minimap DLC. If anybody has a clip to that, I'd love to see it as well and put it up there. There were some fun eye tracker clips. In fact, I've made sure to update the eye tracker, and I'm going to be using it for some of my games, because now we've exposed a greater StarCraft audience to it. So maybe a few less people will complain. 5 kills for the first Oracle, but it is a first Oracle. It's relatively early on. There's a lot of time to recover. In fact, he's going up to 3. We've been seeing this from Protosses lately. The Oracle has been in an interesting, like, it's been in a fluctuating position in this matchup. It seems to be a very meta-related trend. For a while, players would just keep making Oracles. You just have 4-acles and Moracles and however any, like, it doesn't matter. You just keep making Oracles, like 8 Oracles. And then players went to, like, maybe we'll make 1, sometimes none, just get a Phoenix and that's it. And then it's like, well, maybe we'll make an Oracle behind. And now players are, honestly, it almost feels random. There's a method to the madness, but it seems we've landed on 3 Oracles. 3 Oracles as that money number. Okay, so while we're talking about the things I would love to have for spectating, the one thing I really love from Brood War, and that is actually in co-op in StarCraft 2, while these Oracles come in. It's actually in co-op, so that's my big pet peeve. Seeing where the player's screen is at on the minimap. Like, in Brood War and in co-op, 3 Oracles gonna get in. Seeing where their screen is at. Like literally you can see it on the minimap here, my screen, like what I'm looking at with the camera. Why can't we have that, like, as an option? I would love to be able to just see what screen they're on, so you know, like, they're looking at their base while the Banelings are rolling in or something. The thing is, it's already in co-op. So, and it's not, like, just a little outline, not a big thing on the screen. The technology just isn't there yet. Or even just in 2v2, to be honest. Or for the 8 people who play Archon mode. Oracle's coming in, getting so much value with these Swiss Army knife units. It looks like we're gonna play out the game Well, Showtime's playing out the game very similarly, but this time Scarlett has gone into Hydralisk early on. She's got, well, Hydralisk range is not quite done yet. The creep not looking incredible. Are there enough Hydras to beat this? Where is the warp prism? Where is the prism? There's no prism. He's just building another immortal. So I think with the Hydra's already out and no prism on the way, charge isn't done. He's baited Scarlett into making a lot of units. There's no chance she's going to be able to attack off a creep. But Showtime doing what was a much more common strategy in like Wings of Liberty, the fake push out. Where you show a bunch of units, enough units to get a Zerg player scared. So you got to stop, you got to calm down. No more tech, no more drones. Look at all these scary units. And then you just back up. And Scarlett took the bait. She didn't re-drone. Showtime is actually ahead in workers now. Because of that bluff. Gonna keep 2 oracles alive. 1 is really all you need for your activities in the later game. Should be a 4th, yup. 4th base on the way. In order to compound his position. But right now, Scarlett not in as nearly a tough position as she was in the previous match. Still not great, though. Because she kind of staggered her production of drones and didn't get tech up as quick. So by the time this push comes out, the Lurker Den is finishing, but no Lurkers will be done. There's the Adept split off to potentially do damage. +1 attack is done. Warp Prism is completed, and that's an indicator that Showtime is ready to move out. You built Immortals up until the Warp Prism, and then the Warp Prism is going to potentially open up the map or provide defense. The Warp Prism was spotted by a single Zergling. Well done. Now, Hydras are being split off on an intercept course, but they don't get a hold of it. In the main base, a tag is there. The Hive is spotted. Does this prompt a fleet beacon out of Showtime, or does he opt to go for an attack? And it could be both. He has the money, but he knows the Hive is not yet done. I think the tag will run out before it is. He hasn't seen any Spire units. Showtime. The wall puts up another one. Ooh, slight gap there. Plenty of sentry energy, though. Charge lots. Hydra's on... A Lurker drop! He forgot to bring a Dropper Lord for the... Oh! Looks like the ride was just a little bit late. Your Uber will be arriving in a few seconds. A Phoenix is here, but a Phoenix won't stop this. It'll barely see it coming. A lot of Hydras and Lurkers. Scarlett coming in from both sides. A recall on the Oracle. Desperately needed for detection. Oh, is there a good tag? Scarlett splits the Lurkers. Not all of them are spotted out. The Lurker drop is coming in. The Phoenix will spot it, but what is there to respond? Are the Warp Gates off cooldown? A dual-pronged attack. That's not exactly the best Lurker micro I've ever seen, but this is going to be a little bit better. Another Lurker being sent towards the main. Lurkers at the front, Lurkers at the side, and Lurkers at the back. Scarlett says it's my turn, but Showtime says not so fast. The charge lots are coming in. There's nothing to defend at home. Whoa! The Storms and Immortals cleaning everything up. Charge lots finding some damage, limited. Looks like this base going to go down. A single Lurker in the main. Everything being cleaned up. Scarlett working towards the front, but Showtime has left enough for a solid defense. The charge lots are on the chase. It looks like Scarlett does not have enough to break through. Showtime, the wall holds. Easily rotating defenses around to block everything out and do counter damage. Showtime is playing some top-tier StarCraft right now. Scarlett struggling to find damage. The Hive is done. Is the Lurker upgrade done? Lurker upgrade not even started. The Lurker's holding for now. An Observer a little bit late to the party and will be targeted down immediately. Tags are required from those Oracles. Huge charge lot warp, and this base should be gone. Actually, are the charge lots just going to fight? With enough Zerglings to buffer the Hydras, easily able to rip them to shreds. In fact, doesn't quite target the base. And Scarlett will maintain it. A lot of charge lots dying there that didn't need to. So, and Showtime's not maxed out. It's not like he's freeing up supply. Finally, the Fleet Beacon, 2 more Stargates, same time as the Spire. I don't know if the Spire was spotted, but both players realize this game is going to go a little longer. They're both still on high economies. Scarlett does maintain that 5th base, but it's going to need some transfusion and defense. Oh, a whole lot of lurkers. The lurker speed burrow upgrade is very quick. So it doesn't take long once the hive is finished, but it does have to finish. The Overlord drops are being toyed with, but it's not happening. We're going to the later game. Both sides traded. Showtime wants to do something with this army while it's still useful. He's got Tempest on the way. Another base should be coming up. Scarlett with a counterattack. Does she have adrenal glands? They're on the way. They just now started. Charge Lot's gonna finish off the hatch. You know, that's probably for the better for Scarlett. Like, you don't want to have a hatch that's a constant liability. The rest of the army is here and should be spotted now. Lurkers dunk their faces down into the creep. They're too embarrassed to attack when they're not in the ground. Okay. Counterattack, doing a good job. Should be able to cancel this base, and Showtime starting to mine out of his main. Still a dangerous army in the center of the map. A strong recall here. Scarlett trying to isolate, but the force fields doing exactly what they were designed for. Lurkers catch some of the Templar, but will return fire. Wait a second. Not enough lurkers, though. Showtime catching the units that's straight ahead. The counterattack was coming back to join up. Oh, wait, there's one lurker. That one lurker. It found some key damage. I think it got all the sentries. No, there's still one. The later game force fields, definitely a defining characteristic. That's only something that it takes a top-tier Protoss. And it almost sounds condescending, but really only Protoss at the highest level are pulling that off. A lot of Protoss get away with not worrying about that in the later game. It goes by the wayside, but it can save so many of your units. Blink is on the way. +1 air weapons. Tempest already done. Charge Lock counterattack. Scarlett forming up from both sides. Lurkers with Overseers to help snipe off observers. And of course ZTs are a threat, even though they don't exist yet. A big Charge Lock counterattack. Some badly bruised spine crawlers. The storm almost kills the own observer. The sieged up mode, the surveillance mode on the Overseers. Oh, the Charge Lot's chasing, not going to kill the base. Or Prism is exposed. Units all over the map right now. Showtime is trying to build up into a stronger SkyToss army, whereas Scarlett is trying to stabilize and put together a coherent counterattack with all these Lurkers and Hydras. She doesn't have, well, the Greater Spire is done, but there are no air units as of yet. A strong, decisive counterattack that trades units into Broodlords is the ticket here for Scarlett, but Showtime not looking to give her the time she needs. There's a pun here. Tags there. Are there enough Lurkers to hold the line for now? Not that many Zerglings to buffer. A whole lot of Immortals at the back. The counterattack is a big commitment of units. This base is exposed. Scarlett forced back. Showtime, a decisive push. Now, it's going to be a base for a base trade, as they say. The unit's a little disjointed. Not that many Archons or Templar left over. Immortals exposed. A storm, but easily dodged out. So the base falls for Showtime. Scarlett loses a lot as well. Oh no, an Archon being caught. Both players with a lot of money in the bank. Extraneous units being isolated and destroyed as Scarlett takes the rest of the pickings. So who comes out of that on top? Scarlett still has a bank. She evacuated many of the drones. Showtime lost his base. Didn't get that many. Oh! Oh. This Hydra is here to watch. That's a lot of Lurkers. That's 18 Lurkers. Holy shit. Oh, Brenda, what happened to the creep? Why are we in the only place without creep? How did this happen? That is... They take up most of a screen. That is so many Lurkers. The sheer amount of physical space those lurkers take up. It takes a lot of space for them to burrow. Two more robos on the way. Showtime taking this very seriously. He still has a lot of defense. Both players with a lot of supply. Oh, the Zerg sandwich! The counter flank is too late. Half the lurkers being exposed, pincered, and killed. The Protoss closes its jaws from both sides. Lurkers easily sandwiched. They are incredibly vulnerable when engaged from multiple angles. Those spines only rip through one way. A decisive loss there. Down to 16, a much more manageable number of lurkers. Scarlett still holding on. Not even a hint of Broodlords yet. No Vipers either. The Tempest count is up to 5, enough to almost one-shot lurkers. Scarlett, only 65 drones, meaning a very strong army supply. 7 Archons in this. Big counterattack again. There's a lot of cannons, but not much else. A cannon kills a lurker. That's always a good sign. The army coming back. Are there Dark Templar? A big recall. Showtime has not given up this base. Oh, one Tep is left behind. Oh my god, Archon's power overwhelming. But giving up the position in the center of the map. Immortals trying their best. Where are the tags? You're it. Scarlett's just bleeding out so many more units, losing 3,000 more gas and 5,000 more minerals in this match. Gas worth more than twice as much as minerals on average. Really depends on the situation, but especially key here, where Showtime has 2,000 in the bank and Scarlett has none. Showtime does... He is flexible, but not giving up anything important. He's taking such decisive fights. In fact, the charge slots and DTs back off before they can be killed. The tags, finding some. 3 oracles now being used. Beautiful storm again. Oh, picking off the overseers, which means DTs become a threat again. More overseers, and that costs gas too. Scarlett looking for a fight. She can never find a fight where all the lurkers are brought to bear effectively. That's a whole lot of Hydralisks. That is a lot of Hydralisks. A big counterattack. Shield upgrades finishing Carapace as well, but that doesn't matter with Storm. Big counterattack. DTs and charge lots. There's no lurkers to save this. Scarlett is becoming more and more all in. The Hydralisk count is very high, but being whittled down by the storms. There's not that much DPS outside of the storms here. Tempest and Immortals not killing Hydras that quick. The economy for Scarlett is being sliced to pieces. The DT scythes, far too effective. A couple lurkers left. Where once there were 20, now there are none. Showtime has whittled down dozens of lurkers. Scout has lost 42. Somehow, while never decisively losing a battle, Showtime just too strong. That was some solid shield Protoss right there. He gave up bases, but he never gave up key. Like, when he needed to defend that 5th base, after he had mined out of his main, he committed to defending it. But until then, he gave it up for a better position. The decision-making, the cost efficiency, Showtime, Scarlett refusing to commit to a later game army, and lurkers are not a late game army. They can be part of one, but they, in and of themselves, are not an endgame army. They're not Broodlords. They're not Infestors. They're not Vipers. They're not every other unit. But the time passed when the lurkers were really going to end the game, and Showtime used that to full advantage. And, well, you see the result. The Canadian Zerg / Protoss struggling. Fun fact, Scarlett has been multiple times #1 Grandmaster on North America playing Protoss in the I Hate Toss clan. So, whatever that says. Kairos Junction, the shortest rush distance. The minimap is a little bit odd, but make no mistake, this is the shortest rush distance of any map in the pool. The shortest amount of time to get your probe across the map. So many Protoss players won't hesitate to take the opportunity. Make sure you cannot expand your natural. And Scarlett will just circumvent all that by expanding to the 3rd. This is kind of the agreed upon series of events. Showtime is playing some immaculate Protoss versus Zerg. I'd love to see him up against Cyril. Cyril with a different playstyle than Scarlett, but still. Maybe we'll get the opportunity. Who knows? Everyone. I mean, there is a final boss in these WCS events. And we all know who it is. But I hope you guys are enjoying. I found a great tactic I've learned over the years. These players have expanded on their build orders, their strategies. So have I, as a desperate YouTuber. So I found what you do is potentially on match point. I mean, Scarlett could win 3 in a row. We'll do it then. But you beg for the likes before the end of the series. Okay? So if you enjoy my casting and my coverage and me learning how to play and then failing live in front of many of you, make sure to smash that like button. Comment like, wow, looks like Protoss is super easy. You see how Showtime perfectly manages 2-3 spellcasters with no effort at all? Wow. Maybe Scarlett should just play Protoss. But just, wow.
Wow.
And subscribe and ring all the bells like this is Christmas. Adept Shade in. So the Adept Shades early on are pretty mapped out as well. This is a teachable moment. Okay, 1, first step, don't lug Zerglings in your base. That's not ideal. But 2, the first 2 Adept Shades for Protoss, in my observation, are the first one goes in, make sure it checks the drone count on the expansion. Whether that's the natural or the 3rd, it doesn't really matter. And then the second one goes in the main, checks for tech, checks the drone count, checks if there are many Zerglings, and checks for a lair. And you can do all that with the first 2 shades. And if you build an Adept first, you get across the map, get those 2 shades in, and get back home before Zergling Seed finishes. The average time, tip for everyone out there, a hatch for Zergling Speed finishes right around 3 minutes and 30 to 3:35. Scarlett is probably a second or 2 quicker. Your Diamond opponent could be up to 10 seconds later, but 3:30-ish is a good ballpark to have. Dark Shrine on the way. This is a DT Archon drop. I feel like Showtime is not the type of player who, unless he's 100% sure, we've seen very high percentage plays so far from him. He's not a gambler. Watch him build like 8 more gateways. He's not a gambler. He says, this has a good chance of limiting my opponent's options and doing damage. Not even if it isn't critical damage. I'm going to take it. I think the same thing will apply here. Now, if the DTs... Most players will try to poke with the DTs, but at this point, Scarlett's not starting a Spore Crawler. She has to know this is a chance, right? Uh-oh. Showtime is hesitating a little bit. Does he go straight into Archons? Yeah. This shows you... This right here shows you the type of... This is a shield Protoss. Departing SOS has 100% they're coming in. Do you have detection? Do you? And you know what? Scarlett didn't. Those DTs would have done a lot of damage. But Showtime's like, why would I risk it? I know Archons are good. I will build Archons as soon as possible to maximize damage. And that's pretty good damage. Beautiful snipes there. And then the Adepts come in for the second act. The Archon's looking for an encore, maybe? 5 kills so far, 2 queens. Is there a follow-up here? Does he go for the third? Goes for the high percentage plays. Act 3, Archon's reloaded. Just such clean execution, this whole series from Showtime. What, is that a, wait, is that the same one? And he has an observer follow-up. Like, this, he's writing the text, this series, if you're a Protoss player, especially like Masters or Lower Masters or Higher Diamond, these replays are free. I got this from the WCS replay pack, which is released right afterwards from the StarCraft Twitter. Fun fact, a fan got the StarCraft esports account, so they had to do the StarCraft Twitter. That's the official one, the one that says official. But you can copy this. Scarlett is making 8 overlords. That's too many. Oh no. Scarlett is really struggling here. But these builds, all 3 of these games so far, you can, if you copy even half of this, he is writing a textbook on how to play safe and solid Protoss. Not turtly, not defensive, just safe and solid. Like, aggressive defense here every single game. Always on top of it with either Oracles or Warp Prisms, working Adepts into the mix, getting his third base. This third base, not even remotely challenged. There wasn't even a hope. And now Scarlett will be scouting it. It's already done with a shield battery. Showtime dislocated his shoulder and located his best builds all at the same time. The follow-up attack as a Protoss player who was putting all the pressure on. 10 swarm hosts on the way, but they're going to have to be defensive again. That base isn't happening. Like, the swarm host, there's no Nidus. The swarm host can't walk across the map. Showtime, the supply does not tell the story even a little bit, because of course swarm hosts are very misleading. More DTs on the way. Are those for Archons? No. At this stage, when you have this army, of course, it's like, come on through. Oh my god, the Immortal drop as well, using the barriers. Picks him up. Now, Scarlett is bearing down. Only 63 drones. This is essentially desperation, but Showtime doesn't have a critical mass yet. Only a couple Archons. A lot of Immortals. The DTs are in the base. Oh no! The Immortals dropped on the host. Oh, 3-4 picked off for free, and more what a play! Showtime, the minimalist attack once again, exactly what he needed. Only 2 Dark Templar, completely throwing everything off here on the other side of the map. Swarm host not able to join up. The Roaches and Ravagers retreating from a smaller Protoss army. Well, smaller in supply, not much else. Corrosive Bow's accidentally picked up an observer, but Showtime is on the chase. He's not letting up. Dodges the Biles. Immortals continue forward. Swarm host on cooldown. Some more wanted to buffer. This is looking like an execution. Scarlett putting up a fight, but Showtime putting it right back down. It just, Scarlett did not play decisively. I'm saying it like it's over, but this is the best position Showtime has been at this stage of the game in all 3 matches so far. He's got 4 bases to 3 against Roach Swarm Host, where already 13 Swarm Hosts have died. Is there Storm? No, but there is Blink, which he can use to be more how many Immortals is it? 8 Immortals. Desperation counterattack again. A good counter, well, there's nothing to match the Zealots here. DTs could be warped in. Scarlett continues to press the issue. She's down to 58 workers. Ooh, big round of, okay. Big round of Corrosive Biles. The Zerglings and the Locusts combining 17 probes. Another round. Showtime down to 131 supply. Archon's caught in the back. Showtime a little disjointed, and just like that. Well, if this wasn't happening, that would be a huge counterattack. Gets you right back in the game. Unfortunately, this one Zealot and Dark Templar make it less of an impact, and Showtime still has his 4th. A great counterattack, winning a battle, but the war is still a long way off. 11 more drones going down. Showtime strikes back. Oh my god. That is so many Immortals. The Locust. Those Archons are laughing at him. Gets almost 1 Archon. Corrosive Bile. Big. Oh, lands and actually does real damage there. Another wave of Locusts. You gotta be a little careful. Immortals all by themselves with Locusts. Scarlett is fighting it out. The Roaches and Ravagers, the Corrosive Biles are keeping Scarlett in the game. Showtime not quite on top of the dodges. It's desperation. But it's working. Showtime still has 60 probes, though. He's got +2. A real battle here for Scarlett. But just like every game this series, it feels desperate. Another big round of Locusts. Corrosive Biles will force the army back, but the base is vulnerable. Scarlett can't afford to lose another 4th. A big counterattack of Swarm Host. Goes straight for the pylon. Gets it. No warp in for you. The DT's just chilling here. We'll be able to take this out. Another round of Corrosive Biles will force things back. The Locusts land. Are there enough Roaches and Ravagers? There might very well be. Big pickups. Juggles back. Looking for an opportunity. Corrosive Bile just walks forward. DT's finding things on both sides, but Showtime actually loses his 4th base. Scarlett is building one to the south. In these low economy situations, Swarm Hosts and Ravagers do start to really match the Immortals and Archons, especially without a Prism. Where's the Prism? Get up here, Prism! Oh, DT is finding an opportunity. Observer providing detection. Immortals are falling. A whole lot have not lived up to their name. Well, only 3, actually. It felt like more. Damage being done. Corrosive Biles. DT's at the back. A lot of Swarm Hosts have their Locusts off cooldown. The supply gap is... Oh, no. There's no... Where's the Overseer? And 1 Dark Templar. It's always just the one more. The DT's worth their weight in golden minerals. Showtime. He bent, but he did not break. Scarlett in a holding pattern still. The cost efficiency has been real. The Corrosive Biles and Swarm Hosts have found opportunities. Okay, where 1 DT couldn't finish it, I think 3 will cut it. Figuratively and literally. Scarlett throws out more biles. Gonna trade for Lings and Locust. Losing a few units. Ghetto Blank out of the Prism. Scarlett on 3 bases. You do not want to be a 3-base Zerg against a 4-base Protoss who has a overall better army. If all the Immortals die, and this base, and all the probes, but there are some random stalkers down here. Scarlett is mining out of her 3rd. The main base is essentially dried up. The natural is mostly gone. The 4th base is gone again. A whole lot of not dying out of Scarlett. To her credit. Not wasting all the locusts simultaneously. The classic move is to panic and use all your swarm hosts, all your locusts at the same time. And that leaves a solid like 40 seconds, 30 seconds when there's nothing. If they get killed or in the wrong spot. So she's been doing a good job of staggering. But finally, the shot to the heart. Finally, a warping in the main. Spawning pool gone. All the drones. Roach 1! All the locusts. GG! Showtime with a masterclass. Executing Scarlett. What a showing. Scarlett holding on, but it was all Showtime all the time. An incredible series, a textbook series. I still stand by, like, if you want to learn PvZ, those 3 games, he showed similar builds in games 1 and 2, and then an entirely different opener in game 3. That is some of the best. Like, if you want a template, that's the way to do it. And nothing he did was particularly... It's not easy to execute, but it's not ridiculous. It's not out of reach for many players. It's just about timing and execution. Making sure you're getting your 3rd on time, you're teching up, you're continually building, not overextending and wasting units that you don't need to. But Showtime with some immaculate Protoss versus Zerg. Scarlett putting up a fight, but not winning this time around. Next time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the cast. The breakdown. A solid series. I enjoyed it. Thank you. Like and subscribe!